Friends and folks, welcome to the Kaiju Lounge. I'm your boss monster, Noah Waterman. This is your home for humor, opinions, and nerd shit. How's everyone doing on this fine Monday evening? I'll say it's been wild for me. Last week we were not live, we were pre-taped. And you're going to notice a bit of a theme because the big chunk of tonight's episode is also pre-taped. Two reasons for that. Number one, I wasn't able to get my lovely partner in crime, Michael Petrocelli, live. We are just two dads trying to talk about the Game Awards, and kids kind of made that not really possible. But also, things are nuts. There's a lot of travel in my day job, and Thanksgiving's coming up. Big Turkey Day. The American food holiday is happening. So I'm prepping to take my son on his first Thanksgiving. I'm prepping to see my mom and a lot of my family members. Trying to get all that together, and then I fly out again. There's been a lot going on, so I think we will talk about that towards the end of the episode. But like with all that being said, a good chunk of this is going to be pre-taped. I will still be in the chat. I'll be hanging out. If anyone wants to pop in and talk to me there, we can discuss it. I can defend my opinions and slightly less Michael Petrocelli's opinions. But we still have some segments that are live. We still got some gameplay. I'm really excited to pop into In Stars and Time, which is a great little game that seems kind of interesting. I'm excited to try that out. It's the first couple minutes or so of this game. Of course, got the last week in gaming. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. Before we get into the meat and potato of our shows, though, I do want to mention, if you're in the New York area, thank God nabbit, if you're in the New York area, if you are able to come into Manhattan tomorrow night, Tuesday, November 21st, 8 p.m., I will be hosting the world's greatest gamer, the only tournament that matters. It's the esports tournament. Some of you may know that I host. I've hosted at Wonderville in the past. This time I'm going to be taking it to OS New York City. OS NYC, a great little spot downtown. First time we're doing it in the island of Manhattan. And it should be a pretty cool time. Doesn't mean I'm not going back to Wonderville. I love Wonderville. They gave me the chance. It was my initial home for this thing. We're just trying to get this into as many eyes, as many people, as many places that can see it. That's great. If you don't know what it is, it's a gaming tournament where every round is a different game decided by the wheel of gaming. We spin the wheel, whatever it lands on, that's the game you play. It could be Street Fighter 6. It could be Windjammers. It could be Cho Aniki Bankuratsu Dento Hen. It could be, I have a little stuffy nose, so I messed up halfway through the line. It could be Uniracers. It could be Boomerang Fu. It could be Overcooked. It literally could be anything. We're not saying if you're a good Fortnite player or you're good at like the top 5 or 6 games. No, I want to see if you are good at every game. And if you think you are, it's only $5 to enter, $100 prize to win, as well as the title of World's Greatest Gamer. Should be a good time. I'm excited for it. So yeah, check it out by all means. And I will be there in person to say hi. Love to talk to people, get to know anyone who discovers this show, and learn more about this kind of stuff. So that's fun. That's tomorrow. That's a next week in gaming thing. Excuse me. Sorry. I got a stuffy nose out of the blue. That's a next week in gaming thing. I want to talk about the last week in gaming. NetherRealm continues to awe and amaze its fans. Sorry, no, I read that wrong. NetherRealm continues to disappoint its fans. The new Omni-Man playable character, there we go. The new Omni-Man playable character from Mortal Kombat 1 is displayed in the Nintendo eShop at $7.99. Now, granted, that's not great. What makes this really problematic and confusing is that it is cheaper than the Holiday Fatalities, the J.K. Simmons announcer pack, and some of the premium skins. Meaning it is more expensive to buy assets that fundamentally keep the game the same than it is to buy one that actually adds new gameplay to the game. And it's not about cost to make. Like, J.K. Simmons definitely recorded far more dialogue for the battle intros of Omni-Man than he did when he just said, fight, finish him, and fatality. Now, I made this same analogy last time I talked about Mortal Kombat, but again, it's like paying for an NFT versus paying to right-click on a JPEG. Both are stupid, but at least one has some sort of function. I mean, seriously, Warner Brothers. Think, Mark! Xbox is partnering with the upcoming Wonka film to give away an Xbox of chocolates. Get it? Which includes a custom-designed Xbox and edible chocolate controller. Apparently, if you use a racial slur in the Call of Duty lobby, an Oompa Loompa pops out to sing you a life lesson. Now, the chocolate controller is interesting to me. It's not usable, but it sounds like an upgrade, because, quite frankly, mine tastes like Takis, weed, and Bud Light seltzer. Hope the cops heard that. Magic the Gathering has released a Tomb Raider set today featuring cards inspired by the franchise. Not sure how this plays out, but I assume there is a get impaled through the neck card that I can play over and over again until the opponent needs to take a break for 24 hours. Larian Studios' Sven Vinke, this is a beautiful name to say, tweeted about the many nominations Baldur's Gate 3 received this past week, teasing that they are working on their next game already. Not much has been said, but you have to believe that they will add more of what the fans loved about Baldur's Gate 3. Expansive dialogue, the ability to approach a problem from multiple different ways, and a lot more bear sex. Sony has filed a patent for a feature that will allow you to replay your favorite moments from games. Titled Content Streaming and with Gameplay Launch, the system will create chapter markers as you play through a story, allowing you to revisit later without having to replay the entire game. Now you can relive the trauma of watching Brock die with none of the slog of New Game Plus. Sorry, too soon. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The alarm's going off in the background. This is true peak New York City. The man who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer in 2022 has explained to the court that Gamergate initially exposed him to right-wing conspiracies. Color me shocked. He stated that he often plays video games for up to 6 hours a day while listening to political podcasts. 6 hours a day, geez. Explains why he's so good at Donkey Kong. If that were actually true, I'd be really worried about Billy Mitchell right now. I mean, not surprised, though. I mean, look at him. He's just a MAGA hat away from looking like one of Trump's lawyers. And honestly, equally as qualified. Speaking of lawyers, I think I owe Epic an apology. Last week, I made fun of them for going after Google Play Store after they biffed it on their legal issues with Apple. Turns out, Google may have something to hide, as multiple members of Google's leadership team have actively chosen not to save their chat logs, including the CEO, which would have otherwise been used as credible evidence. This is causing the judge to threaten that the jury not trust Google as much as they might have before, which will be tough for the jury because nobody wants to use Bing. And look, Bing is so bad when you type into it, it just says, I don't know, just ask Jeeves. But it's not all good news for Fortnite, as fans that once praised the OG update have since turned on the company after an announcement that they will be adding age ratings to islands and every cosmetic in the game. This means if a cosmetic is rated for adults, it can't be used on a lower rated island. It's like a school uniform for the primary place kids go to avoid school. A PlayStation data miner had discovered that Naughty Dog will release The Last of Us Part 2 remaster for the PS5. Now, this is different than the patch that made the original Part 2 playable on the PS5 with 60 FPS gameplay and shorter loading times. Don't ask me how it's different, it's just apparently it is. Now, this is not an official announcement. Neither Naughty Dog nor Sony has said anything. But it's also not like they're doing anything else. Like, God forbid we get a new Uncharted or Jak and Daxter. Hell, you want to remaster something? Remaster Way of the Warrior. Let's see that come back.
Round 1, fight.
How's that feel? Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe just not. After the success of the Sonic movie franchise, Sega has revealed that they are considering movies for their other IPs. Like a Dragon was one of the ones thrown out there, but honestly, there are a wealth of options here. Shenmue, Streets of Rage, Samba de Amigo, and Chris Pratt could voice all of them. Modder the Great Graham Cracker, fantastic name, has made a mod for Dark Souls that pixel-style PS1 graphics to every aspect of the game. Because the one thing harder than a From Software game is anything made before 1998. For the first time since its release in 2017, Mario 8 Kart 8 Deluxe is no longer on the top 20 best-selling games of the month. And if Nintendo doesn't announce Mario Kart 9, then what the fuck are we even doing anymore? Come on. Development directors of the much maligned Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 claim the game was historically stable at launch, that players are experiencing all-time low crash rates. That's not the flex you think it is. Like, bragging about historically low crash rates is like a school bus driver talking about historically low death rates. It just shouldn't be happening. Crashes happen in even the best games. I get that, but it should be rare. Rare enough that it doesn't have a crash rate. You just crashed once. Like, can you imagine if God of War had a crash rate? People would lose their shit. The Call of Duty team is a lot like my parents when I was in high school. Like, I get why everyone else has low expectations, but shouldn't you be hoping for better performance? I mean, Blizzard has had historically low abuse rates, but anything above 1 is too fucking high. The only reason it's so low is because Bobby Kotick has senioritis and has gone to the end of the year. Check it. Counting down. Almost under a month. Almost under a month, guys. Good stuff there. Now, normally, I would go to a break here. I would. But as I mentioned, we have a pre-recorded segment here that I'm going to tee off to past Noah. I was able to sit down with good friend, longtime collaborator, and fellow video game junkie. You've heard his voice on Replay Values, the podcast, as well as our podcast that I'm hopefully bringing back soon, the best game of all time. I have too many absolutes in my podcast. Best game of all time, World's Greatest Gamer. You've heard him on the best game of all time. You've heard him on Replay Values. He is a regular frequenter of this show, of this channel. He's my good friend Michael Petrocelli, and we sat down to not only discuss the Game Awards, but to go through the nominees and place our votes for what we want to win. I had some good stuff. I'm going to be around in the chat. I'm going to be talking for a little bit. You guys, please enjoy our romp through the Game Awards. Friends and folks, welcome back to the Kaiju Lounge. As you can see, this is pre-recorded. I am in the rare out of gimmick. Hold on, I can fix this. There we go. All this feels correct now. Welcome to Kaiju Lounge, your home for humor, opinions, and nerd shit. And of course, this past Monday, they had announced the Game Awards. All the nominees lined up. Geoff Keighly found some empty warehouse they could dress up with lights and do a quick 10-minute special telling everybody what was nominated and why they paid for their spot. So, of course, it felt right to go in and put our votes in. And when I say our, I am not alone. I am joined by the man who took my side at the last Game Awards when we discussed that, a man who has no stranger to the channel and, of course, has only stronger and more well-informed game opinions than myself, Michael Petrocelli. Michael, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank you so much. We'll see. Stronger, maybe well-informed, TBD. But we'll see how we go.
I'm just here to gas you off. No worries. So we're gonna go ahead. I've got the nominee page here. Tro, you got it on your end. We're going to vote, and we're just going to look through what's been nominated. I'm going in pretty blind. I think I know some of the big players that have gone in. I did watch and easily forget that 10-minute special, so, I don't think I'll be surprised on here, but I think I'll be reminded what was, missed. How about you? Have you done a lot of reading? I know you haven't voted yet, but have you done a lot of reading? I've been looking at the stuff so far.
I actually haven't. I wanted to go in pretty fresh on this. I saw some chatter about certain things not being included or just kind of grumbling about the Game Awards as an institution, which we can get into a little bit just in general, and also the various elephants that are always in the room when it comes to talking about video games on the scale that either get kind of addressed in a unsatisfactory or just a manner or just avoided altogether. We'll get into it. But
now, how much do you think this is in the same vein as the Oscars? I think a lot of the world views it as the Oscars of video games. How many of these do you think you have played?
Most of them would be my thing.
Like the Oscars, I haven't watched any of the films. I maybe missed some of them. I think there's probably going to be a bit of me talking out my ass in these votes too. So I just wanted to see if we're on the same page there.
At least with this, I have an excuse that a lot of these games are tens of hours long, and who has all the time in the day. The Oscars, I really don't have an excuse. I'm just lazy, and I don't feel like being bummed out most of the time watching a movie, so I don't watch the stuff that's
Oscar bait. You don't watch the Oscar bait because it's all depressing bullshit. Absolutely.
Exactly.
We'll get into it when we see it, but I want you to think about is there such thing as VGA bait at this point? Do we have VGA bait yet, or have we not gotten there?
I think so, only in the sense as to kind of what I feel like you can parallel to what you would consider Oscar bait. I feel like what's considered prestige-y right now in the world of video games, and as much as there is that kind of prestige, just because the Game Award standing versus Academy Awards, we're
getting to vote on it, so already prestige is out the window, right? We're literally about to go ahead and walk through this.
Yeah, it's whatever your complaints are about the Oscars, it's at least kind of has always had an air of prestige about it that I think the Game Awards will never fully catch. But anyway, in terms of what kind of is VGA bait, so to speak, I feel like it kind of falls in those same categories where it's is it telling a kind of dramatic story with realistic acting, basically A Last of Us Part 2 is the type of thing, or even the original Last of Us, even though that was very kind of nascent years for the Game Awards, that was still that type of thing where it's you now have some video game actors and voice actors who are at least within the industry, I guess you're A-listers, right? Your Troy Bakers, and whatnot, and then you're kind of just focus on. I mean, it's still very much, in my opinion, rating it on movie standards rather than on game standards. Although I think to the VGA's kind of defense, there is a line there where it's not like David Cage isn't sweeping the Game Awards every time he comes out with a game because his games have like little to no gameplay in them. You still have to have a game that's kind of fun to play, and I think all of these still fall within that category.
But
even
I also
if
think
it's still borrowing a lot.
There is still a difference between, I think, VGA bait, or what will become VGA bait once we really get there, and AAA game. Because I would argue that, like, as much as I spend a lot of the channel shitting on it, and I spend a lot of the channel shitting on it, even if Redfall was a successful game and came out good, I still don't think it would be a Game of the Year contender. Because I don't
agree.
think it hits the buttons of what they look for in Game of the Year.
I agree. I think something that's considered Game of the Year has to have a certain kind of weight to it.
Right.
And a kind of like momentousness to its release and kind of what it's doing. And even,
A
and again,
Sony
even
first
if
party je ne sais quoi kind of thing.
pretty much, say a Sony Studios or a Legend of Zelda, basically, are the things that kind of come through that category.
All right. Well, with that, let's pop in. Let's hit the start voting button for the nominees here. Let's start with best esports event and work backwards.
Let's do that. Yeah, we'll treat it just like the awards. We'll treat some of these categories and breeze right through them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one we got here is best esports event. Now, I only get to get more familiar with esports as I've worked at. The views and opinions expressed in this show are that of only myself and not of any other organization I happen to work with. All opinions are my own and do not reflect any companies I work for. I'm only familiar with esports for my work on Up, Down, Down with the WWE.
Fair.
And with that, like, I'm familiar a lot with, some Valorant stuff, some League of Legends stuff, I've been lucky enough to have gone to Evo. What is your, like, because we're gonna have all these esports stuff. Do you follow, or have you ever followed really any esports stuff at all?
The closest for me would be Evo. Just because, like, fighting games and stuff like that is kind of the closest to the type of game I am interested in. So
yeah,
that's like
you've
stuff
had a lot of,
watched.
like, I know that you were a big Street Fighter 3 fan because we played through a lot like that together, and you've whopped me in it. I know fighting games are definitely kind of up your alley.
That's I mean, my brother. Shout out to Rick Petrocelli. My brother's the big enthusiast. He was like the one like going up the leaderboards for Dragon Ball Fighters, and he's big into like the Guilty Gear games, and he's always kind of sending me info of like the new kind of big like 2D fighters, especially are his bread and butter. So like I would say if anyone's keeping me in the loop, it's him. And I dabble, but I definitely don't have the level of commitment.
I would still throw my vote into Evo, and my main reasoning here, honestly, is that I just want to see the fighting game esports community versus a lot of the other stuff, like any sort of MOBA kind of thing or first-person shooters. It's so unique, and I would argue it's definitely. I've always found it the most interesting and the most fun to watch as someone who otherwise doesn't really follow along. So I'm willing to give Evo my love on this one.
I agree. I shady past stuff aside, and maybe if you dug into all these, you'd find some skeletons. But I would definitely go with Evo first and foremost, just for what I think the community represents, even if the organization sometimes falls short.
Exactly. Okay, we'll go to the next one, or the previous one in this case. Best esports coach. Honestly, it's one Asian dude, three white dudes, and a woman. I'm just gonna vote for the woman.
Yeah, that was gonna be my go, because
I feel like there's not really representation otherwise. Like, okay, there we go. I don't know who any of these people are, so I can't say.
Nope. Yeah, and it's all Counter-Strike, League of Legends. Like, I mean, it's all shooters and MOBA. So what do I know about
here
any of
the
that?
best esports team. I've heard of Evil Geniuses. I'll give it to League of Legends because I think of these games, that's the other esport I've actually seen and enjoyed, and I'm familiar with that through work. So why not? This is like America. My vote doesn't really matter here.
I just what's interesting to me more than anything is just kind of like I look at the names of these games here and like how resilient are these esports games that like Valorant is the newest one, but like the fact that people are still playing Counter-Strike to the
Yeah.
degree that it's like still got this relevancy and like, even I remember my brother first telling me about League of Legends like over a decade ago. And Dota 2 I think goes back almost as far.
Well, yeah, because the original Dota was just the Warcraft 3 mod that like my brother was into
Yeah.
that like way back. I'm like, absolutely. No, you're right. Like a lot of these games have just stuck around. And it just shows how hard it is. A lot of people have tried to break in with new games, but like, it's not showing up on here is like Splatoon.
Yeah.
I also think
And like
though,
yeah.
I was
No,
going
go
to say is
ahead.
I think there's also an issue because I've gone to esports athlete here too. And I think another issue is and this is why I kind of vote for Evo in the early one is like it's all very samey again and lack of representation in most of these games because traditionally a lot of these games are computer games. Buying a gaming computer, especially a good one to play at that level, is incredibly expensive
Yeah,
and
it's a
takes out a certain societal class of people because it's not a common thing to be able to afford. So what you don't
huge
see here
barrier
that's
for
disappointing
entry.
is an esport athlete in Tekken, in
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6,
I mean,
in
none of the
Smash.
FGC is represented here. Like it's yeah.
Uh, and that's
I
not,
guess my question is
that's
like who amongst this group has not said anything problematic? Because that's where my vote would go.
I don't have the time to do that research, so I'm gonna pick Faker because I've heard of Faker.
Okay, fair enough.
The end. But again, and this is we're also are we going to be that far off from a Game Awards so white movement that the Oscars got a couple years
It's
back and like find some changes in that? Probably
give
not
it some time.
because give it a lot of time.
Yeah.
Best esports game. Like these games are still none of these games came out this year
No.
at
Again,
all.
Valorant's the newest one, and then PUBG. But like,
PUBG. First off, PUBG Mobile is an esports game. The mobile version's an esports.
that seems. I guess that's probably the most enduring version of PUBG is the mobile version, especially when you consider the markets that PUBG is still popular in.
Maybe, but that's
It's a
that's
lot of like
wild to
East
me that
Asian.
yeah, you would go to a huge arena or something like that, the same kind of arena you find League and Dota and Counter Strike, and see a bunch of people playing on fucking mobile. Like that seems wild to me that wins
I
out
mean,
here.
this is my bias showing, but like, how egregious is it that we saw Evo on that first one, and then we've not seen a single fighting game represented in any of these other esports categories, even though it's ostensibly one of the top esports events?
Yeah, yeah, and I think again uh, but it's also because we talked about prestige earlier, I'm saying all this as somebody who like esports is probably the circle of the gaming community I know the least about, and I've actually been lucky
Yeah,
enough
me
to
too.
have now on the Kaiju Lounge of being able to talk to both a Smash Brothers tournament organizer who's done some big tournaments, and the developers behind the TMNT X Justice League fan game that we play that has also been played at a lot of tournaments and has been in that community. And so getting their insight in a lot of ways is always very interesting. And one of the things you learn is there are a lot more, I don't want to say underground, but local tournaments, things at a very small scale, as well as big scale stuff. There's a lot of small scale tournament stuff for the fighting game community. I don't hear about going to the basement of some game store and seeing people get into a League of Legends tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because it's more of a team game, but I don't know. Was Muhammad Ali
Yeah.
any less of an athlete because he didn't play a team sport? Like,
Yeah, I think the issue here is that it's I mean, esports is so more so than I think a lot of the other game categories are going to be more heavily indebted to various advertisers, and I think that's definitely probably putting the thumb on the scale of what shows up here.
That's valid.
Because Geoff Keighley's not putting on this event without a lot of backing from various ad revenue sources, and so
To his
someone
credit, Fortnite
Yeah.
is a big, I would argue, a big esports game because they do big tournaments and stuff and that, or big events and
Sure.
that. And they're obviously partially sponsoring because he's doing a big like best Fortnite island, and he's doing some of the game awards in Fortnite, like Ready Player One style. So it's not like they aren't spending money on this, but they didn't buy their way into this. Well, we'll see. Maybe they might be in best ongoing game, so I'll hold that. But like the fact they're not showing up here means that like it's not fully bought. But I think you're right. I think there is more money spent here. I think there's more recognition here. I think there's more just like cultural biases here. I think it's and I will say like it's not like this is always the Game Awards. I believe Sonic Fox did win Best Esports Athlete at the Game Awards at one point.
He did, in 2018, I think.
Right. But also, like, I don't know, you don't give an Oscar to Halle Berry once and then assume you've, like, we're good, guys. Bye.
That's it. Yeah, we've rep it well, and I think that assumption has been made a few times.
It has been done, but, like, they aren't,
Yes.
it's not gone unrecognized.
No.
I'm putting my vote here on League because of these games, the one I'm most familiar with, and I think I've actually have been inclined to play, but none of these are really my bag.
Yeah, if you were going to catch me playing any of these, it would probably be League, but I'm not a MOBA guy either.
Yeah. I'll say in the content creator of the year, never have I felt older than looking through most of these names. I do know that people make games. I have stumbled on some of their documentaries about the games industry, and they've been pretty good. Unless I'm getting mixed up with somebody else, which is also very possible. But I'm going to throw my vote on that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, yeah, none of these people look like they have any fun except for Iron Mouse, and that feels like cheating.
Well,
they all
let's
just seem.
say
If you
like
told
that's
if
a
you told me they
VTuber,
all just
and
made
then-
like pop music, I would believe you.
Yeah, exactly. It's maybe maybe Ciferix, there's like a DJ or something, but yeah, it's
Right.
yeah. This is one of those things where I just accept like I'm old. I'm not gonna know this. It's okay. It's not for
It's
me
fine.
to keep up.
It's not for you. It's for everyone else.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're getting in some good stuff here. Most anticipated game. If I had to guess, Tro, I'm gonna guess Hades 2 for you.
On this list, yeah, I would say probably Hades 2 if I had to think about games that I'd put the most time into to see what's next. I mean, my brother's been telling me to play Yakuza Like a Dragon for a while. So one of these days I'll circle around to that.
Heard
And
a
what I
lot of
saw
good
of
stuff
Star
with
Wars
Yakuza
Outlaws
games.
was cool. I liked what I played of Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I just haven't, it kind of got lost in the shuffle of other games I played. And then Tekken, I've never been a big Tekken player, but I have no beef with Tekken. It's fun to watch people who are great at the game play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me personally, it would be Hades 2.
I think it's valid. I mean, I will say that again. I'll go back to the day job here and the fact that like the guys get. You see this all the time on the channel. The guys get really into Tekken, and it has gotten me to learn a lot about Tekken in that period of time. I think it's interesting. I think Star Wars Outlaws would have gotten it if my experience with the Star Wars game was just the first Jedi game. Fallen Order.
Yeah, Survivor
because-
you didn't like.
Well, I didn't like Survivor, is that I downloaded it, installed it, and the game just didn't work. I literally got my refund back. So I'm sure they've done things to fix it then, but I'm not convinced they're not just going to do the same bullshit with Star Wars Outlaws of release a game, say it's done, and like, no, you barely did anything to optimize this thing, and now it doesn't run on anyone's computer. Like, I
It's
don't.
a different-
sorry,
yeah.
EA. Oh, he's Ubisoft. Yeah.
This is
Sorry,
well,
guys.
I was going to say it's a different publisher, but that doesn't mean Ubisoft is necessarily to be trusted in that area either.
God no. God no.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I'm also like the shine on massive open world. Like, hey, there's something to do in every corner, and we've just given you a map that takes 24 hours to walk across. Like,
I agree.
I'm done. I'm done. For me, this one's Tekken 8 because I think I've learned so much about Tekken, and
It looks
what used to
incredible
be
too,
just a Street
just
Fighter
from a
loyalist, I will
presentation.
say it's truly gotten my attention, and this one looks fantastic. Though I will say I need to play Hades. I just haven't sat down to do it.
Oh, Hades is very fun. If you like yourself a good isometric hack and slash, that'll eat up a lot of your time, but
Which I
also
do.
like somehow makes does threads the needle of making like a roguelike with a compelling story. It's well done.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah,
Best adaptation. There's a lot of really good stuff here in Gran Turismo. So, like, I'm just like, like at a certain point, it's like this is what's on here because this is what there was, and Arcane forced them to have this category last time, so now they're kind of stuck with it.
yeah.
But did you see outside Mario movie? We saw together, and we had a
Mario
great
movie
time
you
with
and I
it.
went to see together. Yeah,
It was a blast.
You and I were both pre-dad, and now we were both post-dad.
Yeah, that's true. We were pre-dads, so we felt the best thing to do was to see a kids movie.
It
Really, really prepare ourselves for the years to come.
was we were doing research. It was appropriate.
That's right. Have you watched any of these other ones? I know
Last
people
of Us. I
love Last of Us. You did?
Yeah, Last of Us I watched. Cassie and I watched that together. And then I told her about what happens in the second game, and she was like, I don't think I need to watch the second season. She's like, that sounds way too depressing.
Scans.
That's it for me. I haven't, I've seen, I still haven't finished, just not because I didn't like it, but just out of laziness, I haven't finished Castlevania on Netflix yet. So then I'll
Same.
circle back to Nocturne, because I'm excited about them doing stuff with Richter and that kind of corner of the Castlevania universe.
Yeah, the Castlevania X like area of things is actually I think really good, and same. I'm kind of interested in checking that out, especially if it just means you're going to keep going through the various games like this. But yeah, I can't say I've seen that. I know Last of Us is good. It doesn't need my fucking vote. Gran Turismo, like I just did not hear great things. I'm shocked it's on here. You could have left this at 4. And Twisted Metal I heard was fun. And I love the Samoa Joe Will Arnett pairing here, but I think I'm going with Mario. I think as far as an adaptation, something that could have been so bad ended up working really well. And it's probably good. Of these is arguably the hardest to adapt to film or TV because it's virtually plotless.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's, it was a very down the middle type movie, but also, Nintendo is not going to say no to over $1 billion in global box office. So what do I know? In terms of what I thought, like absolute quality of the, what little I've seen here, I would give it to Last of Us. But like you said, it's more easily traceable from a prestige drama, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning. So I understand your vote there.
Here we go. Best multiplayer. Now I've at least played 50% of these or more, which feels good. Did you play Baldur's Gate?
No, I still haven't played it. I think it's going to be deserving of a lot of wins here based on everything I've heard, but I just haven't gotten to it yet.
I think it's going to win a fair amount. I don't know if it's going to win this one, and that's honestly just because like it has multiplayer and it's such a well-loved game right now. But I don't hear anybody talking about it. There's just no scuttlebutt about that fact.
Yeah, the buzz and discussion around Baldur's Gate 3, I think, involves a lot of other things it's up for, not necessarily this particular category.
I also think I would take out, for me, at least myself, I don't think Party Animals deserves it. I hear Party Animals is a great game. I actually been waiting for it since the pandemic because I thought it was going to be a great game for that. And like, I hear it's fun enough online. I hear it's a little limited. The bigger thing is that local multiplayer. It's a game that has it, but like still doesn't quite do it right. I remember seeing that in all the reviews of just like there's like no point in playing it locally because it's like split screen, even though you don't really need it.
Oh,
It's a little
that's a
it's a
shame.
little poorly optimized, and it was meant for the online and a little bit of the nickel diming kind of
Yeah,
gameplay style.
that's a shame. I mean, maybe that's where I show my age, but I'm generally biased towards multiplayer games that have couch co-op or couch multiplayer experience.
Yeah, and I'd say same here. Um, I'm gonna step out of Diablo because I know a lot of people liked it. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I actually have not played Diablo 4. It's just it's one of those on the list of kind of like I've got too many other things I'd rather play, and I
Yeah,
don't think I'm not ready to give Blizzard my money right now. Still,
understandable. I've honestly I'm torn because I've in my my like immediate kind of like paternity leave time like baby handling era of my life I haven't had much brain space for something beyond like a kind of like dungeon crawler, so I've been playing a lot of Diablo 2 on my Switch, which I love and I
yeah,
loved back in the day when I first had it, and so there's a part of me that's like, do I want Diablo 4? Like it's I know it's them trying to kind of thread the needle between like people who like Diablo 3 and people who missed some of the complexity being a relative term for this type of game, but still some of the character building complexity of Diablo 2. So
yeah,
one of these days I might check it out. I also understand being leery about supporting Blizzard at all. So yeah,
yeah.
we'll
At
see.
least until Kodak's out. Um, so that leaves at least for me. It sounds like we're in the same boat here between Street Fighter 6 and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Uh, I have both these. I enjoy both games very much. I think Street Fighter 6 is one of the best recent entries in Street Fighter, which is saying a lot because they've all been fairly good. Uh, but like I really like how Mario does multiplayer in this one. For the first time, not only is like the online multiplayer fun and like the very Elden Ring esque leave signs for people and
Yeah,
shadow
it's
mission
clear
stuff.
that the younger developers in Nintendo all play from software games,
Right.
because
But like
their influence is being felt here.
talk about like two so different styles and taking those ideas into somewhere it does not belong into and making it work flawlessly. Like it really
Yeah.
does a good job. But then also like local multiplayer. I mean, unfortunately, and I would say unfortunately because you were having a kid, you missed Pat's bachelor party, but I got to play a little bit of it there with people, and like the difference between playing this multiplayer and playing like Mario Maker multiplayer, where it's like everyone gets stuck, no one can move the camera. It's like they found a way to make it work so you're not just like holding people back or like everyone's dying because somebody made a final jump. Like they really did a good job with the multiplayer on this. Have you got a chance to play any of that?
I have Mario Bros. Wonder. I have not had a chance to play it multiplayer yet. But it's interesting. Both Street Fighter 6 and Mario Bros. Wonder, I feel like represent what feels like a shot of creativity and kind of exuberance into two very long running franchises. And honestly, I'm like rooting for both of them. You know, they're both very different types of game. I find it interesting that with the online multiplayer thing, Nintendo kind of sidestepped one of the primary issues that happened with Mario Maker multiplayer, where the connection problems just like really plagued it. And they
Yeah.
were like, let's just not bother this time, and let's find like another way for multiplayer to be interesting online, and then just keep the like more literal multiplayer aspect, on in person. Which, there'll be people who will just say Nintendo should just fix their online infrastructure, and that's true. But I would say until then,
Yeah. But they're Nintendo. So
until then,
so.
like but they're Nintendo, so set your expectations accordingly. But until then, they should, if they're applying creativity and all that stuff, I think that's really neat. And honestly, for it being so unexpected, I would probably give it to Mario, but I would be fine with Street Fighter taking it also.
Right. Which one are you voting? I'm voting for Mario for me, but which one do you think you're doing?
I will, you know what? Just for variety, I'll do Street Fighter.
Beautiful. Give them a fighting chance. They need it. Best sports / racing. We got EA Sports FC, F1 23, Forza Motorsport, Hot Wheels, and The Crew. I have played none of these.
Yeah. I played a little bit of Forza Horizon 5 on Xbox Cloud streaming, which I know is not any of these games, but it felt pretty good to drive. If Forza Motorsport's like that, then that automatically gets my my vote, I guess.
Yeah.
I know it's the more like sober version of that, which is less interesting to me.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, it sounds boring.
Yeah.
I will, honestly, looking at all these, I don't know. EA can fuck themselves. Ubisoft has its own. I'm voting Hot Wheels because it's like it's the smallest developer on here, and it seems like
That's
from
true.
in the old school blockbuster look at everything and pick based off the picture alone, this seems like the most interesting game to me.
No, you don't want that one racing game that's just a picture of 3 dudes instead of anything involving racing.
Really, nothing to sell it for me.
Oh, I need 3 guys. I'm sure if you're if you're a fan of F1, you're like, those are my 3 favorite racers, and I love all of the sponsors that they have on their jackets. But that's I'm gonna just I would give it to Forza just because it's like the closest analog I have to like any sort of familiarity with how the game plays.
Right. Best sim strategy game. Got Advance Wars 1 and 2. Cities Skylines, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. I gotta give it to Pikmin on my end. Like, Fire Emblem I enjoy. I don't know. Advance Wars, great to see, but something feels weird about giving basically a re-release an award for things that have to be released in a certain period of time.
I'm going to give it to poor Advance Wars. One, just out of kind of Game Boy Advance nostalgia for the originals, and also because poor Advance Wars just like the real world really came in and pulled the rug out from under any hopes of a revival of the Advance Wars series, which I'm very disappointed about because I was so excited when it was first announced, and I love those games. Sunny depictions of wartime notwithstanding.
Right.
So
but
it gets my pity vote.
I think what it is I just kind of want a new Advance Wars, like something brought into the
thing about it for me is that this is one of those things where like this would have been the gateway to a new one, and now I don't think that's ever going to happen. Or at least not for a very long time.
Is there anything we've been through so far? We've done 11 of these already. Anything you feel like has been snubbed? Any omissions so far?
I don't think so, but that may betray. I mean, outside of like no fighting game representation in the esports stuff, which seems crazy to me. Otherwise, sorry, just to say, like the fact that Street Fighter first popped up as best multiplayer and not anything else when Evo was also being highlighted, that all seems nuts. Otherwise, nothing too glaring, but that may betray my ignorance more than anything else. What about you?
Yeah, not in these things so far. I was trying to think best sim strategy. Like, maybe there's an argument that The Sims could be on there, as I do think they've released something this year, even if it's like DLC or like expansion stuff. But like, yeah, I can't think of anything else. I also think there's probably some stuff, like some really great indies that have been slept on that just don't, because they're too small, and they, instead of being in the sim strategy game, they just go directly into the indie section, which is its own.
Yeah,
I think when we get to best indie game, there's a conversation about that there. But like, yeah, I think, and I was trying to think of like if anything for sports, but not. Yeah, I don't know. Really
it seems weird that it was mostly driving games for sports, or that they're lumped into one category. But
I'm just trying to think if there's anything that's not the 2K series, which have notoriously just been rehashed so badly that like even at their best, they're not going to be on a best of list.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the major sports games are just the kind of annual releases, your Maddens, your yeah, like you said, your 2Ks, any of that stuff
Yeah.
doesn't really merit an awards nod unless it really broke the mold somehow.
Best family game. I mean, I think my vote here, we're seeing some regulars now. Pikmin 4, Party Animals, Mario Wonders. The two new ones we haven't seen yet so far are Disney Illusion Island and Sonic Superstars. I missed Disney Illusion Island. I was excited about when they announced it, and because it reminded me a lot of Rayman, which I still think is one of the best platformers. Really,
It
just in
looked like
general,
very
one of the best.
kid-friendly Rayman.
Yeah.
Is how I saw it.
I think for me, Mario Wonder, it goes in, and not just because I think it's my favorite game in the bunch here, but also for the various like accessibility things, like the badge system. I think about like from Family Game, not the idea of not just say what's a fun game for everyone to play that's all ages, but also what makes it so like you can get people who don't play games to pop in a little bit here. And I'm thinking things like the Yoshi and Nabbit having a different like not using items but being able to not take damage, the badge system that allows you to kind of tailor things to get a little bit easier here and there while still not losing its challenge, as there are some hard levels in the game. Also because I think it's it's probably the best all-around rated title out of all of these, are the ones that's really continually gotten critical appeal from all these.
I think so. I actually think it's kind of weird that Pikmin is here because even though Pikmin is obviously, ostensibly family friendly in terms of being like colorful and, not traditionally violent, I guess, say what you will about how the Pikmin are utilized in the series of games, but it's not really like a thing where I'd say like the family sits down and enjoys a game of Pikmin 4.
Right.
I think it's, I know there is multiplayer stuff in it, but it's I would give this to Mario Wonder. With anything these other ones do well, I think Mario Wonder does the best version of it.
I think absolutely. Let's go to the next one, which is best fighting. I mean, I think Street Fighter 6 gets it because they already had best multiplayer and it was part of that. It's kind of like when Stray was in Best Indie, but then was also in Game of the Year last year. And so, like, it wasn't going to win Game of the Year, but no shit, it would win Best Indie because it was nominated for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
I also don't know what God of Rock or Pocket Bravery is.
I was about to say, I'm
curious.
kind of scratching my head over both of those.
I'm curious, but I think that also just shows how, like, empty this year might have been for fighting games, which is crazy because it was a good year in general. But I guess Tekken 8 we didn't get. There's no King of
Arc
Fighters.
System Works not come out with any new games? I guess
not.
Guess not, huh?
Mortal Kombat I think was also really good, except for the fact that I know their monetization and DLC practices have been abhorrent.
It has been, yeah. Yep. I'll give it to Street Fighter for sure. And I'm over, like, good on you if you want to play Nickelodeon. I'm over multiverse, just about anything these days.
Yeah,
I think it's done to death.
There's something about the way Smash doesn't, and maybe it's because they were just first on the scene, but the way Smash does it, it doesn't feel as like, it doesn't feel the same as or as hackneyed as Nickelodeon All-Star or DC Multiverses, whatever, right? Like, something about, maybe it's because the characters all kind of fit in the same mold a little better. And like here, all the characters feel like the properties feel so unique and disparate. But I don't know, I can't explain
I think so.
There's something about how Smash works where others don't.
I think it benefits from being first also. But in the sense that, like, anything else that comes after, it's going to feel like it also ran to some degree.
Right.
You also had Masahiro Sakurai as just kind of the creative visionary, at the head of the Smash Brothers games. So I feel like that also made it feel a little bit more, not that he made those games by himself by any stretch of the imagination, but it made them feel a little bit more like, I guess I hesitate to say something that capitalizes off so much IP is like artistically motivated, but it kind of has that to it because he was still doing like the presentations and like having like his own personal relationship with it. I think there's just some intangibles there that make the rest of this stuff kind of harder to deal with. But like, I'm also not a kid. Like maybe if I was a kid and I saw this, I would just be excited by it because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, maybe like, the heyday of Nickelodeon for us if we were watching like Chucky and Stimpy and
I mean, you still have
Oblina all
Rocco
taken
in
out.
there. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Best RPG. Uh, don't know what Final Fantasy or Lies of P are doing in this. Straight up, like I'm just
They are
like Final Fantasy.
ostensibly.
Final Fantasy is being grandfathered into the RPG category. Like they've stopped making RPGs around, I don't know, the time Kingdom Hearts got too successful. Like
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of RPG, and like I think you could still make the argument that that there's still RPG elements to these, although Final Fantasy 16 certainly strays probably the most from them. I don't think they're going to be satisfied until they, yeah,
is Final
truly
Fantasy,
figure out how to thread that needle.
what makes Final Fantasy 16 an RPG and God of War Ragnarok not?
Yeah, I mean that is totally valid because like they probably both have equal, if not God of War, maybe more RPG elements than Final Fantasy does.
Character progression,
Yeah.
skill trees, sweeping fantasy storylines.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, Lies of P, I think it's borrowing from FromSoft games, but I think all of those are defensible as action RPGs, if nothing else. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't dispute that being here necessarily.
I think if I see a best action adventure game, then I'd be like, why the fuck's Lies of P's in RPG? And I would argue that with Zelda too. I don't know if I call Zelda an RPG anymore.
I don't think people have tried to make the argument about Zelda being an RPG basically ever since the N64 era when N64 had no RPGs, and people tried to argue that Zelda was an RPG for that reason. That's at least what I remember from back from the old message board debates. But I would never call Zelda, to me, was always an adventure, action adventure game.
I think
never an RPG.
I didn't get to play Sea of Stars. I really want to. It looks right up my alley. And I was going to say, it looks right up your alley.
The demo that came out early in this year left me a little cold, but I'd be willing to give it another chance.
Okay. I loved Starfield, but not enough to stick with it. This is tough because I love Starfield a lot, but it had a hold over me for about 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
did not. And like, I think it's great, but it was just, again, too big. And Baldur's Gate 3, I actually have not played the finished product. I played the early access stuff when it first released during the pandemic. And it did not draw me in, but I kind of realized that's because I've been playing it wrong because I'm a completionist and I want to see everything. And I realize it is not okay, let me talk to everybody before I do my next mission, because then you're just going to fail your current mission.
Right.
So like I'm really
out
approaching
you have
it
to do your mission, not waste time running around town talking to everyone.
But now that I've kind of come to that realization, I kind of like that, because now it is like D&D where consequences matter. So I am going to give Baldur's 3 my vote on this one.
I think that's fair. I think I would also lean towards Baldur's Gate 3, just from what I understand about it. I hate to say that. I mean, from what I played of the 3 that I've played any of, which are Final Fantasy, Lies of P, and Seas of Stars, none of them I would mark as best RPG, even if I'm intrigued by Lies of P in particular. People seem to really like that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did it on stream, and I liked it. It was a little choppy because I can't seem to run it in OBS at the same time. But like, I enjoyed it well enough. And as someone who basically came off of Elden Ring, having a different appeal for these kind of games now, I definitely want to give it a little more time, but I just don't feel right calling it an RPG. That just doesn't sit with me.
Fair enough. I think there's a
Especially
whole
when
other
the
discussion.
next fucking category is best action adventure.
Action
It
adventure,
should
but
be
but this
here.
also, I don't know. There's a whole conversation to be had about what makes for RPG gameplay, because RPGs just kind of span so many different genres and things like that, and it's just I don't know.
RPG then just shouldn't be a fucking category. I don't know. Like it's this. Yeah, I'm gonna get a little worked up here, especially like action adventure. Really, Alan Wake. I don't know. Does that belong in like best horror game? Like, would you put?
I don't. The thing about it though is that it's like Remedy's gameplay style, and I'm not super familiar with Alan Wake. Unfortunately, I know there's been a lot of talk about this new one. But Remedy's gameplay style really tends towards more actiony type. Like I played a decent amount of Control, and that's my immediate frame of reference. And that's definitely much more in the vein of that's definitely much more an action adventure than that. I think Alan Wake has horror elements, but I think it's you could probably make the argument, but I don't know, is there a horror category in this
I guess that's a fair
Game Awards? I didn't even look.
But should there be? Like, should there be in a way that like a Five Nights at Freddy's or what have you would be in that?
Resident Evil 4 is here too. Yeah,
Huh?
Resident Evil 4 is here too, and Resident Evil 4 is here too. And Resident
Yeah.
Evil 4, even though it was the first of the series that this is a remake of to go towards action, like Resident Evil 4 still had a fair amount of horror in it.
Oh yeah. Also, why? Like I mean, I get people like it, but this is a game that came out so long ago. Like it's a remaster. I'm sure it looks prettier, it looks better. I feel weird having like it's like when they re-released the Star Wars films with like the small changes back in like the early aughts.
Yeah.
Should those have gone up for Oscars? Do those count for Oscars for that year? Like,
Yeah, I mean, this is to be fair to this is a full-on remake. It's not a remaster. I would agree would probably have that same argument. That being said, like when we get to like the more Game of the Year stuff or anything that comes up that's even a remake of an older game, I'm going to be leery of in terms of saying, oh, this remake of this existing game, this remake of this revolutionary approach to this series from back at the time that it came out should be considered the best game of its year. I think that would be more of an indictment of
the current
games
year.
as a whole,
yeah.
and the year of what came out. But it's also not fair to the game to completely dismiss it when it is a from the ground up remake of it. Now, do I think a remake of Resident Evil 4 was needed? No, absolutely not. I don't care how good it is. You need to remake it. Put out a patch in the old one to clean up the controls. Oh yeah, of course they are. They're going to do 5 next, and that's I mean, like, good fucking luck. You're going to have to change huge parts of that game because there's Yowzarelli. There's some parts in 5 that are a little uncomfortable to go back to.
Yowzarelli is my favorite Broadway singer.
But it's my whole attitude with 4 was like, you didn't need to. Obviously the controls and some elements of the original 4 have aged for sure, but I don't think they needed to do a remake of it.
No.
My big thing that I want to point out here is I would have, going into this year, been pretty bullish on the sequel to Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, taking a fair number of awards. I am much more doubtful of that now. I think that game, and look, I played it, I beat it, I very much enjoyed my time with it, but I don't feel like it persisted in the discourse the same way that the first one did.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to hurt it here.
This is kind of what I've been saying for a hot minute with Tears of the Kingdom, which I loved, which might be in contention for my personal game of the year. But the truth is, And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am not convinced that this overall was better than Breath of the Wild. I get that it was better on paper. I get that it had more. But in the end, this game did not make me feel the way Breath of the Wild did. This game did not compel me to finish it. This game did not give me the same sense of wonder and awe that I got from the first one. And a lot of it is just because it existing in exactly the same map, but with more stuff and things changed. Like, there was less for me to be like, what's around this corner? Like, I might be in the minority. Not that I might be. I am in the minority on this one. But like, truth be told, it's in the end, Breath of the Wild was a game that I refused to put down until I uncovered every little nook and cranny and all its secrets. Even the new things in this one, I did not, outside of maybe the Gleeoks, I did not just like have taken the step back in the same way that I did, say, seeing a dragon for the first time in Breath of the Wild out of nowhere. And to that point, I think that's part of it. I think it's because while this game was good, it did not feel as new.
Yeah, I mean, you can't pull that same trick twice. And
You can if it's a new game. You can if it's a different game. I think the thing is that you can't. I think
I'm skeptical
if they had
because
done
I
this in a
think there
different
was
map.
yeah. I see. I get what you're saying, but I honestly am not even 100% sure if I agree because I think even Switch 2, whatever they call it, is going to have a new Zelda
Switch
at some
Tears
point.
of the Kingdom.
Switch Tears of the the sequel to the Nintendo Switch, now known as Nintendo Switch: Tears of the Kingdom, is going to have a Zelda, and Nintendo has pretty much straight up said they're not done with the open world Zelda format yet.
Yeah.
So there's probably going to be at least one more of these. I am skeptical even with a new map. I don't know if it's going to I think it will be more impactful than being than having the kind of foundation of the same map. But I also just don't, in terms of what captures people's imaginations in the same way, I just don't think you can do that again. Breath of the Wild was just such a representation of, a kind of like return to the basics while kind of imagines for like a current gen game design sensibility and, just really, again, that sense of adventure, that sense of wonder was really hard to match. And Tears of the Kingdom, I actually had a little bit more of that than I think you did when it came to exploring things in the sky, things underground, stuff like that. But it was more an explanation. It was more an exploration, not explanation, exploration of like mechanics and systems,
Right.
than I think it was a kind of revolutionary, like, here's a new world to discover, even though there's still plenty of stuff they added in.
Right. Honestly, I think they can do it again, but not by retreading too similarly. Like,
Yeah.
I think you can, if the change is as large of a change as, say, the jump from Majora to Wind Waker, or from Twilight to Skyward Sword, right? Like, the world's got to feel big and different to recapture that, and the game has to feel like familiar but new, in the same way that I would even say Skyward to Breath felt new and different. Like, because if otherwise that was the case, then every Zelda game would feel that way. I just think this, like, the mechanics were great, but wasn't enough for me. I think a lot of more people had fun of like, how can I break this crazy system, which is maybe was part of it. I just wasn't willing to like break it in order to pursue the game. That being said, I'm still voting for this one. on action adventure.
Yeah, I mean it's first of all, of the games I played, like, yeah, I mean, are you sure you don't want to pick Jedi Survivor? I sure that download screen looked pretty sweet.
I don't know. I'm still waiting for it to finish.
And then I haven't played Spider-Man 2. I played a fair amount of the first Marvel Spider-Man, and I'm sure it's a very fun game, but I would still pick Zelda.
Spider-Man 2, I think would have been my second vote, even if I hadn't, just because I loved those first two so much. But like, just haven't had the time to get to it. Again, we're just two dads trying to play video games.
Look, it's just time and energy is fleeting. That's all I got to say.
Best action game. I mean, I wanted to play Hi-Fi Rush. I wanted to play Armored Core. I didn't end up playing any of these. I'm going to give it to Hi-Fi Rush because I think they did something different and cool, and I was happy to see it. Did you get to play, as a From Software fan, did you get to play Armored Core?
No, it's on my wish list to eventually get when it goes on sale. Just because, like, I'll play it eventually. I always like the idea of playing a mech game more than I wind up like committing to playing any of them. But
I think that's fair.
But yeah, I'll play it eventually. And same Hi-Fi Rush, I agree would get my vote just because it was such an unexpected surprise and, just kind of fresh. Kind of what you were saying, burst of color and creativity in a space and genre that I hadn't really expected. So
and it was just like shadow dropped. Like they announced it that day when no one expected it to.
Came out of nowhere.
Best VR AR experience, Tro. I know you're a big fan of first person and things
VR
that really put you in the moment. VR especially. Any feelings on this one?
Outside of mounting nausea, I guess if I had to pick a VR experience that I would probably do, I don't even really know what a couple of these are. I'd probably be most intrigued by Horizon.
I'm going to say the same. I remember
Resident
seeing
Evil.
trailers for Humanity and be like, "This looks like a cool game," and then I didn't realize it had come out. So, I think Horizon for sure is getting it, irregardless. Like I think that's just a shoe-in, and the rest of these are because they need to fill in the category.
Yeah, I feel like VR is still, it's like hanging on, but I don't. Is VR ever really going to like take off as a thing? I feel like
not until it's
so
more
many limitations.
Not until it's more accessible, and I think it's getting there.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a while. I think it's going to be accessible because the Meta Quest is not crazy expensive anymore. Like, I think the newest
right,
one
the barrier
is, but
for
like
entry
in
is getting
general,
lower.
It's gone down. I think Apple coming out with their headset is going to help a lot because Apple's really good at coming out with a super expensive thing and somehow getting it in everybody's hands. That's just kind of been their MO. That's what the iPhone was, and now we all have these phones. So I think it'll be there, but it's not there yet. Yeah. Mobile game, sure. Let's have this shit on here. I'm only giving it to Honkai Star Rail, A, because I think the name Honkai is funny, and B, my girl Heather is a voice in that, and so I'm here to support her any way I can. So she's getting my vote.
God, can I just put Vampire Survivors on here again?
Right.
Let me tell you what I played the most of since having a baby, and it's that game. Because I can play it on my phone with a single hand.
Such a good game.
Oh my god, I've like fully completed it. It's
I'll say shout out to Heather as well, who's also Minoru in Tears of the Kingdom and fucking killed it. So I hope at least that one does win award.
All right.
Even if she doesn't get to
I'll
walk
double up
there.
on Honkai just for the solidarity.
There you go. I like that. Best debut indie game. Oh, this is tough. Because Cocoon, I only got to play a little bit of that, but that seemed really great. Pizza Tower was a blast. Viewfinder is exactly my kind of game. Like, now we're into the shit here. What do you think? Do you have any experience with any of these?
I don't, unfortunately. I feel like I missed the boat on the indies this year. I'm probably going to give it to Pizza Tower just because I like that pizza is both the name of the game and the developer.
Yeah.
and I heard good things about it, so that'll
It
get
was
my
it
vote.
was it was good. I'm gonna give it to Viewfinder, as I really love a good creative puzzle game, and I think they did a great job with that. Uh, that being said, there is this element of like a lot of discourse recently on what makes an indie game, as like companies like Annapurna, Team 17, these giant publishers, are they still indie? Some of these
Yeah.
companies are owned by like best indie game, Mint Rocket here. They're not advertising it, but they are owned, I think, by Tencent, but they're still being classified as an indie game. Like,
Huh.
I feel like at a certain point, indie games should mean uh, developed and published. It should mean kind of supported by the individual company, because otherwise, indie becomes a style,
Right. It's
like
it's more of
pop.
an aesthetic than
Like,
a yeah. Yeah, I get it. It's kind of it's like a genre, but also like indie games are different genres. And sometimes like Sea of Stars popped up in Best RPG before, but now it's also here in Best Indie Game. Inside the traditional publisher system. I don't know. I'm a little
yeah.
leery of that. It's not like an independent film couldn't win an Oscar for Best Picture or something.
Oh God, yeah. Um,
I don't know.
I mean, I'm that all being said, I think I'm still going to give it to Dave the Diver, which is just a wild and unique game. Uh, did so many different things with it, and it was just fun across the board. But that being said, I think it's just because of the quality of game that it is. Again, I feel weird that they use the term independent here.
Yeah, I hear that.
Uh, Getting through these, I believe we've got about 10 or 11 left here. Best community support. Um,
I
well,
don't know who was
Bungie
good.
couldn't keep their own community employed, so I don't know if I want to give it to
Yeah,
them. Uh, I
tempted to
you,
say No Man's Sky because of how they turned it. They've turned it around since launch and like made
I
it
was
such a
thinking
more
the same
complete
thing. Though
game.
that being said, I would also argue that Cyberpunk 2077 did as well.
Has a similar story. Yeah,
Both those had a similar story in that kind of release there. I would give it to Cyberpunk because No Man's Sky at this point is kind of old. Like I don't know if it should still
yeah.
be winning an
It's
award
kind of
this
weird that
time.
it's in this year's. I agree.
I'm sure
If
that it's
anything,
because
this
they've
should have been a
continued to
couple years
release
ago.
more support in doing it, and it's a wildly different game. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like you don't get to keep just releasing DLC and updates and getting the points for it. I'm giving this to Cyberpunk here.
Yeah, I mean, did any of these companies really stand to benefit from the Game Awards? I don't think so. But
Yeah, because they get to put like CD Projekt Red gets to put in other, whenever they want to do sales or something, there is clout. I think there is a
they could
weird
say
clout
Game
of
of the
being able to
Year
have
edition or whatever.
Game of the Year edition, Game Award winner, nominated for blank, 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 blank to help get sales, or help boost the last one, the sequel to the Game Award winning, yada yada.
Yeah, best
Um,
going.
Best ongoing game. I forget that Final Fantasy 14 is still a thing.
People love them some Final Fantasy 14. I am not an MMO guy at all, but people love that game.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I'll give it to Cyberpunk again. The rest of these I don't really play.
Yeah, as I've never been. I played maybe a Genshin Impact for like 2 seconds back when it first came out. It's not
I'm
really
still
a
not
big.
sure what a Genshin or a Honkai or any of these things really are. It's probably just not for me, not my age range.
Fair.
Um, okay. This is what gets me. To your point of the indie stuff earlier, games for impact. This is just an award you give for games that are going beyond the bare minimum of inclusion, but you're not going to consider them for anything else. This is so you can feel good about having AAA studios sweep the awards, because you're not viewing everything in the same limelight, and you are rewarding companies with money over companies without.
Yeah, this is Geoff Keighly wanting to score some easy points.
Right, and you know what? He'd had more success if he just invited a woman on stage every once in a while. This is just like
Yeah, maybe this year.
this is this. I find this so aggravating. I'm glad they have it, but like truly, just a pat on the back for yourself as you take a victory lap. Really kind of just gets my goat. I'm giving the Goodbye Volcano High. I thought of all the games that premise was a lot of fun and really great. It seemed cute. Venba would also be kind of a close second for me here. But I don't know. Like I think there should be just an indie game awards in and of itself, so that we can stop commercializing grand handing things. Like this is Games for Impact just feels a way to loop in everything else. I think if you went truly more off of genre and just had more genres, best or like stuck with like best storytelling, best voice acting, like something like that, then I think you'd be in a different boat.
I think just dissecting and kind of figuring out how to do a game awards that is not this probably merits its own separate recording and discussion with a larger panel of
deserve
people.
its own awards, to be honest. But yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, like it's and then we would award the best speaker. But yeah, it's there's a lot to unpack with what that is, and this stuff like this really kind of exposes, I think, how the weaknesses of this approach.
Yeah. Innovation for accessibility. I don't know. I don't know what these games did. No one's saying enough of what they did for that. So I'm gonna give it for a Hi-Fi Rush for being part of the company that pisses me off the least.
Fair enough. I'm almost inclined to give it to Street Fighter just because I know they included a like a kind of Smash Brothers-esque control scheme that's like meant to lower the barrier for entry for these types of games for new players and get them into that, which I think for like a big mainstream fighting game is important because these games can be so intimidating.
That's true.
So I might give it to that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Best performance. Like, this is tough because I actually really like Cameron Monaghan's performance in the previous Star Wars Jedi, but until they can get one working on PC, they can go fuck themselves.
I know it's not your fault, Cam, but yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I would give this one to Neil Newbin, who plays Asterion in Baldur's Gate, for his fabulously flamboyant vampire character. I think all the clips I've seen of that, he does a great job. He's also like, I mean, Yuri is in everything. Idris Elba has actual awards to go off of. They don't need it.
Yeah, that's fair. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to give what is essentially best actor for the video game awards.
Yeah, there is an element of that. Best audio design.
I mean, Hi-Fi Rush is a rhythm game. Doesn't that win basically automatically?
Boom, done. I like that. Yeah,
right?
I don't. This is where it's like maybe community voting on best audio design doesn't make sense. I also think there's probably something for like best level design, best new mechanic in a game.
Right. There's so little in the Game Awards that are like delving into like what makes like the interactivity of video games and like what makes for good video game design. And I get that maybe that's not like I mean the biggest thing about the Game Awards is just that like no one's watching this for the awards. No one gives a shit about any of this. They'll fight about Game of the Year on, you know, whatever Twitter's called next week, if for anyone who's left on that platform, you know, or whatever social media platform you've migrated to, like for the week after the awards, and that's it. Otherwise, people are just there to see what announcements they have for whatever's coming out next year.
Truth. Best score in music. I think I'll give this one to Tears of the Kingdom. It's basically a lot of the same music from the previous one, but it's still good. It still makes me happy. Yeah. The other ones I just don't. I know Alan Wake 2 has a great musical sequence that is fantastic. I think they got the band. I named the band is like something very, very like Viking-esque, like Sons of Asgard.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder had a musical sequence here, and it was snubbed in this category.
Truly snubbed. Truly snubbed.
Where are my Piranha Plant singers? They need, yeah.
Well, it's here in Best Art Direction. Mario Bros. Wonder, Tears, Hi-Fi, Alan Wake. I actually want to give this one to Lies of P, though. Because I think it was...
Okay.
No?
I
You don't feel that way?
disagree with you. Well, no, I mean, look, you give whatever you want in terms of voting. I think Lies of P cribs too much from aesthetics of games like Bloodborne to deserve a art direction design all its own, even if it realizes that very effectively. But that's just my own opinion.
Oh, so where are you with this then?
In terms of art direction, I mean, I would do Hi-Fi Rush, or honestly, I would give a gold star to the Mario Bros. Wonder team for taking what is a very tightly controlled IP and mining so much creativity and kind of vision out of it in a way that is still recognizable as the world and characters.
But do you think they... I mean, Hi-Fi Rush I definitely get. Do you think they did enough that is like new art design for Mario? Like...
I mean, I think it did as much as they were allowed to do.
It feels like the same art design I would expect from a Mario game. Like maybe if there's like Odyssey, I see a little different because there's weird sort of like realistic mixed in. But this feels very like Mario.
I think it's all the kind of details and little animations and things that they kind of put in the spaces rather than I agree in terms of like a kind of like big picture thing. That like it's you're ultimately your Mario game is going to look like Mario. They kind of have to. But I think there's so much stuff and so many specifics that were clearly the result of like a lot of love and like time put in that I would consider it. And I'm sorry if I really kind of poo-pooed your Liza P choice.
No, you fully just shot me down. Real rule of improv, no but. So I appreciate it.
Yes, the classic rule of improv. But yes, I would say I hate to show my bias so much for like cartoony stuff, but I'd probably still be inclined to do a Hi-Fi Rush or Mario Bros. I'd probably make the case for it.
Fair enough. Next one up here is Best Narrative. I feel like something here is being snubbed, but I can't really say what. Like, I do think the narrative for Zelda was really good this time around.
I think so. I think it did a better... did you finish Tears of the Kingdom or no?
No, again, didn't draw me to do it, but like, what they did do, what I did see of it.
My biggest gripe about the narrative in Tears of the Kingdom is that Zelda's the one having the more interesting adventure, and you really are only like... from like a story perspective, and you're really only getting like windows and snapshots into what she's doing.
Right, that's fair.
And there's a part of me that's like, oh boy, kind of, not that I didn't have fun playing Link's Adventure, but like, I kind of would love to see from beginning to end like what exactly Zelda went through.
Right,
it seems like a lot.
And almost Mary Jane sequence in Spider-Man-esque fashion of just like not having combat, but walking through Zelda's life.
But yeah, in terms of other things, I mean, there were definitely more single-player games that were story-focused that came out here. And again, this also comes down to, like, this is best narrative in a AAA game.
Yes.
This is not best narrative in, like, especially when you consider the indie space, which is almost, like, prized for its narrative story.
Well, I would also argue with art design, too, of, like, the indie space. It did so much more. I think of, like, Thirsty Suitors as a game that I thought was more gorgeous than a lot of the games they just listed here, and they didn't do anything with.
But it's that same thing where it's just a huge slant towards the major studios, and then and the fact that we're just voting on this in general and that determines the winner also just tells you all you need to know about this.
It's also what the Oscars does, right? Where it's like it's not the best movie doesn't actually win the Oscars. It's always going to be the second or third best movie, because in the end it's almost like a almost like a
like a
ranked choice
sneeze.
kind of thing.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's always going to be like my favorite game and your favorite game is probably going to be much more subjective than my second and third favorite game, because those are the games that appeal to the lowest common denominator while still being good. So like the stuff that takes wild swings are more likely to be in people's favorites, but not be in everyone's favorites.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that the Oscars doesn't have flaws either. I know I'm comparing this not favorably to the Academy Awards, and
Of course, yeah.
it's not that that system also doesn't have huge problems, but this just kind of has its gaps. I'm just going to go ahead and say Baldur's Gate 3. It seems like the best
Same
vehicle
here.
for storytelling in all the games listed here.
Though I will say I dug Final Fantasy 16's demo story and how it kicked off. I never wanted to play it another time, but you're right. I think Baldur's Gate 3 actually has the strongest.
Yeah,
and by
what
virtue of
if
being
Game of Thrones, but like anime and stupid? That was basically what Final Fantasy 16 felt like to me. But I was like, I realized that sounds really derisive, but I was kind of here for it. I was like, yeah, sure, let's
like,
fucking go.
I can't tell if you meant that as a bad thing or a good thing.
I actually meant it as a good thing. But it's like, as I was just like, yeah, let's get real dumb with it. Okay, go ahead, Final Fantasy.
Best game direction. We're at the last couple here.
Yeah.
Best game direction on that. And like, on one hand, I'm sort of going like, well, I think Tears of the Kingdom, but Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom got the best game direction because they stole it almost word for word from Breath of the Wild.
Vision, innovation, and game direction design. I guess so. I mean, in terms of like the base game, but in terms of like, I don't know.
The build your own factor really does change something in it. Like I will say,
the sheer level of efforts that went into like the insane systems and physics and making sure and like all the various ways that, one, to get that thing running on some like halfway human level on Switch, and then two, to not just break the game into a million pieces in 2 seconds. Like,
right.
I don't know if that falls under game direction, but it feels like deserves credit somewhere.
I think you're right. I think though I juxtapose that with Baldur's Gate and how well they managed choice in the game. And the idea of that, like, literally, people were coming up solutions trying to do something different that no one would think of, and they were still accounted for. Like, it's been hard to find something that the Larian Studios didn't expect, and therefore really makes it feel like a go your own way. And to do that level of branching on such major or minor, the fact that you could use speak with plants or speak with animals and get results even on anything and not just on select creatures.
Yeah, I will say, having played a fair amount of D&D and the amount of dumb bullshit you've had to tolerate as our DM over the years, a game developer who's able to factor that into their design is also a very impressive piece of work.
Absolutely.
I also just I don't know. I think it's also interesting that we're still looking at games and not the actual like directors here. To keep going to the Oscars comparison, we're not actually looking at like the people who are providing this direction and what they represent and what their styles are.
Yeah,
because
companies don't want to do that, and they want to make sure that Insomniac gets the award, not Joe Spider-Man doing it, right? Like, yeah.
He was born to direct that game. It's crazy.
It's amazing. Please, Spider-Man, not Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man. It's all one word.
I'm going to give mine to Baldur's Gate 3 here. I will say we're coming to the end, and one thing I am noticing is a severe lack of Starfield on this. For how hotly anticipated that game was.
That's the chatter I saw when the nominations came out. Primarily was, did Starfield get snubbed?
Because people loved it. People still love it. It seems, and like the amount of love fucking Skyrim got and gets, and Fallout got and gets, like, is Starfield a game with its issues and with its bugs and problems? Yeah, but no more than the others I just mentioned, and those got a ton of love.
I think the issue is that people are not seeing a level of advancement and correction of those same issues from, 12 years ago when Skyrim came out, or yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, there were people were even grumbling when Fallout 4 saw release. Never mind then the debacle of Fallout 76, which I feel like I think Bethesda's also kind of gotten dinged over the years in terms of people's perception of their brand.
Mm.
And so I think it's a combination of those things. So a game like Starfield comes out and like, sure, yeah, probably is huge and fun and has a lot of good stuff in it, and a couple patches in, probably especially feels a lot better to play. But there's I think there's always kind of been a ceiling on the level of quality that a Bethesda game can have, what these kind of like mainline Bethesda games can have, without them kind of like making a serious overhaul to like what engine they're using and like how they're approaching the development of these games and their systems. And I think Starfield is bigger and like modern in the sense that it's like shinier. But it sounds like, based on everything I've heard, and again, it's not to denigrate the enjoyment you had or anyone's had with the game, because it sounds like it's still very enjoyable. But it's still it puts a cap on how much adoration it can get, and I think it keeps it off this list.
That's fair. I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Excusable in that. We're here where we technically started before we realized we didn't want to start with this, with Game
No,
of the Year.
don't you wish we were finishing on best esports event?
Really, really ending on a strong one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Game of the Year. So recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. Let's see. Surprises, not surprises. Alan Wake, I get. I honestly, if I was a horror game player and I was in for jump scares and stuff, I think I could see a world in which Alan Wake was this for me.
Sure.
I've not played many of the Remedy games. It's just like, this is just, I don't know. I still get too afraid. I've gotten afraid at just scary levels of normal games. Like, it's, running through a derelict spaceship in Starfield can be too spooky for me. So like,
Spoopy.
Spoopy.
Yeah.
It's Spoopy. I could do Spoopy. I played Mr. Bones for Sega Saturn on this channel. Spoopy's fine. Spooky is too much. So Alan Wake 2, like, it's not going to get my vote. You said you hadn't played. You played Lovely. It's some of the other Remedy stuff, but I'm assuming kind of the same. Like, you don't know enough to feel like.
Yeah, I'm very happy for the Alan Wake. Like, I know Alan Wake, the original, always had a very kind of dedicated following, so I'm very happy that they've gotten what feels like a worthwhile follow-up after all this time. Very happy
Yeah.
for all the wake heads out there, the wakeboarders, getting their fix of Alan for a second time. But yeah, I don't have enough experience or knowledge of it to give my input there.
Right. Baldur's Gate 3. We've put it as our vote for a couple of times here. Definitely belongs here. I think it's always worth pointing out that Larian did not expect this game to be as big as it became. They said that it was shocked at how well it was received. Honestly, I was as well. I truly did not think, again, was not impressed by the original early access, but now I've been fighting the urge to jump in and play it, because if it wasn't just so big and I didn't feel like I would just lose all what little time I have to it, I'd be all in love with it 1,000%. It's D&D in a game. Do you think you're going to get around to playing this guy?
I will, for sure. I mean, as a lover of actual D&D,
Yeah. Well,
I
you
would
also
be
played
remiss
Divinity
to
too, right?
not- No, I actually never did.
Oh, I thought you did. I thought you were one of the many people telling me I had to
No.
play it.
Louis played a fair amount of it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm gonna get to it for sure. I'll pick it up on Steam eventually.
Right.
And honestly, I'll just kind of front load right now and say, like, if I had to kind of make a guess as to what I think would get Game of the Year, it'll probably be this. Would
Interesting.
be
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I think it's very
prediction.
much not just a front runner, but like truly that this is not anyone's game to win kind of capacity.
It has so much goodwill going in.
Yes.
It
still,
seems to
still after all this time.
Yeah, still sustained goodwill. Yeah, it seems like it's hard to beat.
Let's see, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Like, neither of us played it. Love that first one. Honestly, I think recency, if I had played it on release, recency bias would be pointing me towards this one. Because all it has to be is the same, but add Brooklyn and Queens, and you basically have my heart in this game.
Fair.
I thought those other two were really good, and I can't wait to play it when it's on discount.
Well, what I think is interesting is if you were to like just to kind of jump ahead slightly is like recency bias I think is an important thing to consider because I think if Zelda Tears of the Kingdom had Marvel's release date, I think we'd be having a very different conversation about whether Tears of the Kingdom should be considered for Game of the Year. But like I said earlier, I don't think it's on this list, but I don't think it has a chance in hell of winning.
Yeah,
because it's been far enough out, and we've seen how it's kind of endured or not endured in the kind of general discourse, and again to compare to Baldur's Gate, like in a way that Baldur's Gate has. And I don't think Marvel Spider-Man will either. Even if, and that's not to say it's not a great game. It's just not every game holds that. There's too much stuff comes out. It's too much stuff demanding our attention on a day-to-day basis for everything to stick around.
No, 1,000%. Like, I'm gonna just ignore that Resident Evil is even here. I'm kind of confused why.
I agree.
I think I'm actually shocked that is here and Starfield isn't. Not because I think Starfield deserves to win it, but I'm kind of shocked by it still.
But Starfield's not a remake of an older game, whereas Resident Evil 4, however good it is, still is. And like I said, if it were to win Game of the Year, that would be an indictment in a lot of ways of both the quality of games that came out this year and also what the general gaming audience values that they vote for it.
Especially since this year is being widely considered one of the best years for gaming, bar none. Right? Like, let's not forget that too. But I was getting at is that, like, do you put, if it was just between Mario and Tears, would you put Tears over Mario?
Yeah, I think so. I think Mario Wonders is a great game. I don't know if I would, if it's like momentous enough for me to say that it deserves to be considered a game of the year, but I know that's not fair because we've talked so much about like what makes for a valid category here, and like plenty of indie games also don't carry that weight because they're just not so big. I also just don't think, I don't know. It's hard to say because Super Mario Bros. Wonder has to be considered in the pantheon of all of the Mario games, and I just don't think it's been long enough for it to sit there, and I think that's where its true value will.
I think that's fair. I was going to say, I do think it's the best 2D Mario since Super Mario World, right?
That's like, what I've been hearing.
I would absolutely say that. Like, it holds up in a way that like people will remember Wonder in a way that they don't remember new Super Mario Brothers and everything.
Yeah,
but that being
I think
said,
this almost would have benefited. Oh, sorry.
Well, see, that being said, I was going to say, like, I don't think a 2D Mario game wins Game of the Year. I think a 3D Mario game wins Game of the Year.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe that what I assume will be. We don't have time for this, but what my prediction for the Nintendo Switch successor is that whatever the Odyssey team is working on after they've finished polishing off Bowser's Fury is probably going to be that, and I think whatever they make there will probably be a contender for sure, because I have very much a large amount of faith in that team to deliver another high quality experience after what they did for both Odyssey and Bowser's Fury.
Absolutely. So yeah, with all this, I think I gotta go Baldur's Gate 3, Game of the Year.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too. I feel it's weird to say that about a game I haven't played, but it's in a way though. Like, if it's truly emulating the Dungeons and Dragons experience, I would argue I have played it. Yeah, played it. Like I know what if that's what people love about it so much, then I totally get it, and I think it's defensible for me to say that I understand enough to be able to consider that a Game of the Year contender.
Fair enough. So that's it, man. That is us going through everything here. What are your sort of final thoughts now that we voted on all the categories? Are you excited to see where this turns up? Does somebody still crash at like, what are you feeling?
Oh God, I hope there's no more like QAnon-esque bullshit that like crashes the stage at the Game Awards this year. I don't know. The thing about the Game Awards is that it's too long and doesn't really need
It's
to
too long
exist,
and doesn't
but
give enough.
That's okay. It's too long and doesn't give enough of reward for it. Maybe they'll do another trailer for the Elden Ring DLC, since all we have is a single picture. That would be
true.
nice. That's basically my same guess as last year when I thought they were going to announce Elden Ring DLC, and then they announced Armored Core instead. So we'll see. But like again, like I don't go into the Oscars wondering what movie trailers are going to show for movies coming out in the next year, because that's not what that event is about.
Right.
But a gaming event is kind of has to be about that, because that's the only way they're going to get people to tune in. But again, I'm getting into an entirely side discussion that needs to happen later, I think, about like how truly essential a Game Awards, or essential and possible a real like Oscars of gaming is.
Right.
But for me, I just let it go by quickly. Let there be something of substance said about the general instability of the industry and the need for unionization and like some sort of like labor solidarity that I know Geoff Keighly is not equipped to speak on.
Nope.
And
This is going to be sanitized heavily,
Yeah,
and that
I'm
and,
just
and,
saying.
and in a way it's got to be, because he's got to keep those friends. Like, every year it is. That's how you got Diablo 3 for best, or not, Diablo Immortal for best mobile game last year. It's like they're sanitized, they're bought and paid for, but
Yeah.
that's how Geoff Keighley keep making these. So like we are the ones, by making a video like this, giving it importance, and hopefully. I don't say this is a bad thing. Hopefully, enough people like us and like the other publications out there doing that will, in turn, maybe turn that tide. Though I think that's a not in our lifetime kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. But we'll find out soon enough.
We'll find out soon enough, Tro. We talked about it. I got to look at schedules and when it's all happening. But like, let's watch. We're gonna watch it together. I want to stream it, and we can just watch it and basically talk over it, because no one cares what anyone's actually saying. We'll just be surprised and can continue this conversation as it's happening live. So we got let's link up on that. But in the meantime, what toot.community can people find you at?
I have not been doing anything on Mastodon for the past while. The only type of platform I go on right now is Substack.
Okay.
Maybe in my injection of free time that I have at leave, I'll write something on Substack, TBD, and I will let you know more about it if that happens.
Hell yeah. So I'm going to let you go. We're going to go back to live Noah, that is actually playing this as he's probably just drinking tea and staying awake. And until then, thank you all for watching. Not tea, seltzer, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But staying hydrated nonetheless. Long one there, but there's so much to talk about. And I look forward to actually watching through it. As long as I'm not double booked with work, we're going to do it live with you people. So if you guys want to watch along with us, please, Game Awards, I believe it is I'll double check it, the 7th, I think. I'm trying to get all my life in order still. After Thanksgiving, that gets a lot easier. In the meantime, we're going to move on to the final little portion of our evening tonight. And of course, that is the gameplay portion. And we got a very interesting game here called In Stars and Time. In Stars and Time. This is sort of a time looping RPG. Very reminiscent of a lot of my favorite classics I feel like I grew up with as a kid. At least that's what I can see at the first glance. I'm going to find out. I think we're going to find out together, to be honest. So let's dive in to In Stars and Time. It is not capturing the gameplay. I'm sorry, guys. Let me fix that. Oop, we're going to switch to just full screen gameplay real fast. It captured the wrong monitor, so I apologize for that. We should be showing up correctly there now. If I go back to our gameplay screen, boom, in stars, in time. Controller here. Let's pop in. New game. And obviously spoiler stuff, like for the first, I don't know, what time is it right now? I don't imagine going another more than like 20-ish or so minutes. Because you really should check this out for yourself. But the music's already fantastic. Just ate it? Girl, what are you doing? Wake up. I'm not moving yet. Sound design on this is great. Friend. Oh, Sifrin. Sifrin? Jesus Christ. Good morning. Well, more like good afternoon, I guess. Were you taking a nap? Excuse me, I got a runny nose too. It's been a messy episode today, and I apologize. I guess that's smart. Try to get some rest while we can. Tomorrow's a big day. Face against the king. Oh, it truly does. Been there, girl. Been there. Yep. I will. Oh, yeah, I've been there for sure. It would be a waste, but it would also be very nice. Somehow, Sifrin, you must find a way. Okay. I'm gonna use the D-pad because the joystick, I feel like I can't move diagonally. That's a lot. Right? Black and white is a really interesting choice, I feel like. Pew pew! Pew pew! There we go. Yeah, for like not pixel but pixel art, like this looks really good. Eee. A solid 9. Thank you. That's also far too extreme here. It's a little pick me. Come on. Ooh. Well, that sounds fun. You weren't giving me a choice. Let's not pretend there was a choice there. No, it wasn't stupid. No. Oh. Oh, Sifrin. Sifrin cares. She's sleepy, but she cares. Yes, of course. Of course, Mira. Yep. I won't. That's me lying. Oh, thank God. Thank God. I was gonna say. Okay. Okay, RPG style. Goodbye. Great. So I got my options. Oh, here's all my people and Bonnie. This is a really cute menu screen. Shop supplies. Menu fields. Okay, I don't want to like waste our time talking to everybody. Great. Daydreaming one. Hum hum hum. I am one of the saviors, absolutely. Okay, great. Don't know what we're laughing about. Oh, yes, I am. Okay. Houseman. Little perfect Mirabelle. Wow. All right. Stylish one, calm down. Wow. Ooh, people are a lot here. That's I like it when they explain that in RPG. Like, it is weird that we go into people's houses and no one says a damn thing. Jesus, what is with this guy's eyes? And it's described as the castle-loving one. We all gotta have hobbies. Okay, well. Alright, so there's definitely like something with the death here. So I'm gonna go east. I'm not gonna do everybody. There's Mirabelle. There we go. There's Mirabelle there. East and south, I think is what they said. These guys are just chilled though. Was this gonna be real? Damn, kid, that's rude. Bunny! Why's Bonnie got an attitude? Alright. Jesus, Bonnie, relax. I like there's a little exposition here that helps me out. She loves it. Boo. Screw you, Bonnie. Oh, wow. Bonnie, relax. Oh. Alright, great. She's out of the way. We got someone up north to the shop. Sorry, guys. It's not the prettiest. Give me 1 second. If I do the bulk of that off camera, you don't need to see me blowing my nose and all that. I'm not gonna talk to Bonnie yet. We're gonna head to the... That's interesting. This is the shop. This is our other person. Odile? Or Odile? Oh, Sifrin. You look rested. Glad to see you laid back on the day before the end of the world. God, this is dark. Yeah, hell yeah. It's gonna be a party, girl. Yes. Yeah. Let's share. There we go. We are fighting the king tomorrow. There we go. This is sweet. This is cute. The art is great. I really dig this. Oh, gems. Oh, gems. Why would you hide it? Why is this thing a secret? That seems selfish of you. Especially if we're all like, if you all think we're gonna die soon anyway, why would you hide it from us? I must know more. I must know more. Cultureology. Go to space. I'm about to head straight to space. We'll have a space party. So a gnarly space party. Okay, it's a statue. Is this it? Got it. The Change God. Oh, interesting. Is this like... I love this as a storytelling device in an old school game. Okay. Interesting. gates and defeat the king. A particularly strong sadness. Cool. So Bonnie is just the odd person out here. So frozen not. Oh. Oh. That's funny. So I'm just an agent of chaos. Oh no, people actually care, it seems like. That's really sweet. Oh. That's frightening. Believe something very strongly. Will do. Oh. Yeah, come on, change God. Oh, that'll be super fast, because that's what it was asked for. Super fast. Super fast. Boom, boom. You and your friends attacks? Okay, gotcha. Oh, interesting. All right. Oh, great. Beautiful. Thank you, Change God. We appreciate your hard work. Woo! 1 second, another sneeze. I'm good. Isa! Safe! Isa! Oh, boo. Boo. Okay, that was cute. The favor tree. Uh-huh. I think it's oh. Boo. Boo, Sifrin. That's a me joke. You're better than that. You're a hero. I'm just an old man. Ah, that was funny. So you can do your thing with the tree. Yeah. Clock Tower sleepover. Gotta make that happen. Hell yeah. Party bed. What's up with this big tree? I want to know more. Alright. I want to get into a fight. I do want to get into that part of the game. So power through a little bit. Oh, I gotta ask the final question. Ready to help for all Joven's defenders. Okay. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Issa. Gotta like her. What a badass. What do I say do here? Hell yeah. I like this main character, actually. Alright. We're all set. Tokay's bow. Favorite tree. God, yeah, I keep saying it. I'm really in love with this art style. It's really cool, mixed in with the like really old school SNES RPG style. This is great. Huh. Yeah, it's a wishing tree. What do we got? This is Mirabelle. Be here when Bonnie reunites with her sister. Yes. I like that. I'll absolutely be helping out Bonnie. This is really sweet. Oh. Crackle, crackle. This is all a very sweet game already. East of town, past the broken bridge. Alright, so I think I'm back to the other side here. East of town. This would be a broken bridge. Boom. I got ups. Got mad ups to get across. Same. Sleepover party? We're gonna... Hell yeah. Samosas? Thank you, Bonnie. I did eat a hell yeah. Sweet. Yep. Something about me. Yeah. Gonna get the orbs needed to open the house gate again. No. This is so adorable. It's all friendship and shit. Yeah, we are. I know, hell yeah, we are. Ooh, Mirabelle, it's still gonna be a party. Oh. Okay, well, this game has fully been calling me out this entire time. Good night. Sleep, sleep, sleep. See you, Faruni. Okay, she got some. Oh, they. I don't know if it's she or they. I should check. Okay. Okay. Is then let me go back to sleep. Okay. Is that they have a crush on me? Is he? I'm sorry. I've been misgendered him both ways. It squeezed me. House maiden? That seems uncalled for. Yeah, he's gonna ask me out. That's what's gonna happen. Oh. And guys, I'm gonna say I'm sorry. I want to get into battle and stuff, but on that note, ooh, spooky. I think on that note, guys, I wish I could stay up a little bit later. It's already been over 2 hours. It's a work night. It's Thanksgiving week. Like, there's so much going on. It's why this episode's been kind of nuts as is. I'm not sure I can get into more in the moment. So we're going to call it here. But I do want to go ahead and thank everyone for hopping out, for hanging out with me tonight. I want to talk a little bit about just things kind of coming up in the moment. Before I go, I just want to kind of say that, there's probably going to be some changes to the Kaiju Lounge in the next couple of weeks. Out of necessity, I think the truth is I just can't maintain the output that I have been with this, and I kind of need to pre-prioritize. Look, I think what I've got is some great stuff, and I've got some great feedback, but it's not reaching people. And, I want to help build this into something, and this is not what's bringing people in. Then maybe there's some tabling and coming back. Henry Casey, hey buddy, I'm just getting ready to close things out. because I've been up for a while and my runny nose just acted up out of nowhere. But happy to see you hop on the show. Was just going to get into the fact that, like, I think I'm going to be changing some things up for the Kaiju Lounge. It's been a blast doing the show. I'm going to still be going live every Monday. I think I'm just going to be kind of changing how I format this thing. Doing a 4 to 5 segment show every week is becoming a little more tough with the day job. Thank you, man. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to. It doesn't sound like it, but I will say this much. Next week, I'm gonna take off because of Thanksgiving and all the travel I've got going on. Then I'll be back the following week. However, to you and anybody else watching this, I'm still doing the World's Greatest Gamer tomorrow night, 8 p.m. OS NYC, deep in the heart of the city. We are doing the World's Greatest Gamer, the only tournament that matters. $5 to enter, $100 to win. Every round is a different game. It's wild. It's crazy. A ton of people are going to be there. Hopefully people can come out. And I think we'll be doing a lot more. I'm going to actually try to live stream that tomorrow as well from the bar, which should be great, which should be a blast. So we'll see how that goes. And down but not out. This is the dream. The day job's the day job, but this is where I want to be. So, like, figure out how to make this work, how to make this grow, and how to help get eyes to build the Kaiju Lounge and what I know it can be. But if you want to see that happen, if you want to help follow that journey, you can check me out, Boss Monster Kaiju, all over social, all platforms except X, where I'm Boss Monster Kaiju. You can also go to the kaijulounge.com. It's a website that desperately needs updating, but it is still a website that has a lot of my stuff there. And yeah, that's it. Oh no. That's alright, dude. As you've seen, I keep doing them. People keep loving them. People keep showing up. But yeah, with or without the World's Greatest Gamer, absolutely hope to see you again soon, dude. It's been a minute. We should definitely be hanging out. So I'll see you around, buddy. I thank you for hopping on, even at the tail end here. Thanks for anyone else who's watched prior, before, after. Until next time, stay cool, stay hip, stay heavy, and good night.